Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Just Love Them podcast. I'm your host, Cherie Best. Join us to discover how to stay connected, find healing, and deepen your relationships with the people you care about who've made different religious choices than you have. Today, I have a very special guest, Jeff McLean. Jeff is a vocal coach, a performer, and co-author of the book, Stay in the Room. A professional singer since his teens, he has performed worldwide, from off-Broadway tours to Las Vegas Spamalot. Since 2012, he has coached artists and actors globally, guiding them to find confidence and honesty in their voices. Drawing on his personal journey of faith, identity, and recovery, Jeff's work emphasizes self-love, healing, and connection. He's also the founder of the McLean Foundation, a nonprofit creating safe spaces for growth. Jeff lives between Heber City, Utah, and West Hollywood, California, with his husband, Joe. Welcome, Jeff.
Hi, Cherie.
I'm so excited to have you on.
I'm so excited to be here. This is wonderful. I'm really excited.
I recently interviewed your father, Michael McLean.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, and I'm so excited to interview you because it kind of gives us a really rare perspective of both sides of a faith journey, from a parent's perspective and from a child's perspective. And I love that you've written a book because you've obviously thought about this a lot, worked through a lot, and I'm excited to hear what you have to share.
Because Dad and I were talking because basically anybody who meets us or we're introduced for the first time who knows about my dad or knows about me and the Mormon gay situation, me being gay, my dad being an active Mormon, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they always want to know how the relationship is. How does that work? Do you like each other? So it's a constant question. And then when I say we're really great and our relationship's actually quite wonderful, nobody really believes me. And so we kind of wrote the book in response to how we've worked through building a relationship of love over the past several years.
And I think that book is going to be of a lot of value to people who are coming along that path behind you guys.
Yeah, I'd hope.
If you could look back, all the things that you know now, and for your dad, all the things that he knows now, if you could have had that knowledge in the beginning of trying to work through changes in what you both expected from the relationship, you probably might have been able to get there faster. I know for me, what I know now, and I don't have any children who are gay, but I have 6 out of my 7 children who have left the church. And so any kind of, you get something different than what you thought it was going to be. There's this process, this healing, this transition. I think if I had known in the beginning, if I could go back and talk to myself 15 years ago, I'd be like, don't do this, this, and this. This and this and this is what you need to do, instead. I'm sure that your book will be so valuable for people who are coming behind you because you know what to do. You know, you have perspective that people just don't have if they haven't been there.
I think one thing that's really beautiful about life is that honestly, there isn't anything about life or any of the decisions that I've made that I would actually personally choose to change, which has been a really beautiful place to get to. And I'm excited that the book will be able to be an opportunity to help people understand how my journey might relate to their own and kind of see some similarities. But what I love is that I think something that I would not wish for anybody is for them to not be able to have the life experiences that they're supposed to have to grow and learn the most.
Yes.
And I think a lot of time our culture, and I think just all of us in general, are like, let me help you with a guide so that you don't have to struggle, or that it doesn't have to be as bad for you. And what I've learned from being kind of on the other side of the coin, on the other side of the table, on the other side of the religious perspective, in the darker places, if you will, is that there's so much love and there's so much to learn in those places that I wouldn't want to rob anybody of the opportunity of that growth. And the hardship and the difficulty and the challenges and all of those things are so critical to my personal experience. It's funny because there's so many things that I wish that I could do differently at the end, and I've made some pretty intense choices. looking back, all of those have helped me become who I am. So wherever anybody is on the journey, what I love is that I know that God shows up for everybody where they are. As much as I'd love to shorten the process for other people, I wouldn't want to rob anybody of the journey they're supposed to naturally take.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah, it does. And I think what you're
Even though
saying
it
is,
sucks and even though it's hard, you know what I mean?
yes, I think
Yes.
what you're saying is really valuable because it is in those hard spaces that we're refined. It is in those hard spaces that we learn who we really are and we become who we really can be. You're right. If we never had pain and we never had any of the hard stuff, we wouldn't ultimately become our best selves. So I think
Yeah.
there is great value in that. At the same time, I also think there's great value in putting our arms around people and saying, here's a tool that helped me that can help you. You're still
Oh,
going to
for
go through
sure.
your journey. You're
For
still going to
sure.
go through the pain, the grief, whatever it is that you're going to go through. You're still going to go through it, but maybe you can have some arms around you to help you get there, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And I think my favorite thing is there's something beautiful about not knowing. Because I know growing up, it was like, so what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? What are you going to, what's happening? How are your kids? What are you doing? Like this
Yeah.
idea that the question of I don't know was never really an option. Like I don't know where I'm at or I don't know what's happening. And one thing that I found is when we don't know and when we're in the most struggle, our questions to God and Heavenly Father become a lot more specific. The more we don't know, the better the question. So we
Yeah.
ask better questions, the more we don't know what the answers are.
What a golden gem that thought is. I've never really thought about it like that before.
Because like when things are hard, you're like let's say you're struggling in the day. It's like, oh, I'm struggling. I should eat something or whatever. But if you're like really in the depths, it's like, what do I need to do in this moment to help me get through the next 12 minutes so that I can make it to the next thing? Is a better question than what should I do? Or like, how should I act now in comparison to how I acted before? The harder the situation is and the more difficult things are, and the more you don't know, and the more you surrender to the fact that you might not know, I find that your questions just get better and your relationship to Heavenly Father and God, you can just have a better dialogue. Surrender the fact you don't know.
It's
And
beautiful.
yeah.
I had a friend who told me a story just yesterday. It just fits here. I'm just going to share it really quickly. She talked about two Indians and they were standing on the shore of this great bank of this river. It was a torrent river. It was a flash flood. It's a fictitious story, but as this flash flood came down, it tore the bank of that river away and both Indians fell into the raging river. One Indian found a big rock sticking out of the water and he thought, that's my lifesaver. If I can just hang on to that rock, I'm not going to get washed away and I'm going to be able to survive. So he
Uh-huh.
hung on to that rock and he hung on and he hung on and he hung on for an hour and a half. And after an hour and a half, he had no strength left. He had
Uh-huh.
resisted that river as much as he could, as long as he could. And he had no strength left. And he finally ended up letting go. And he was washed down the river and he died. The other Indian thought, I am not going to resist. I am going to just try and float on my back. And he pointed his feet downward and he tried to just float down the river. He got bonked in the head and occasionally he'd go underwater and things knocked into him. But eventually, after a long time of trying to keep just afloat, he was able to eventually work his way over to the edge and he got out and he lived. What you were saying reminds me of that story because it's the resistance sometimes. We're resisting. And
Yeah.
instead of surrendering, it's like what you said when you go to God and you're in that more surrender stage,
Yeah.
you ask better questions or you do better things, but you stop resisting. When you're surrendering, you're not resisting. And that can actually be so much better of a thing than trying to hold on and white knuckle it till the end, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think the main thing I think we'll end up talking about, especially in the journey, is like clinging to beliefs and clinging to things that don't service you. Clinging to old ideas, I think, is
Hmm.
also overcome.
Yeah, I think
Beliefs
ultimately we all
that
figure out that,
yeah, yeah.
right? Wherever we're at. Well, Jeff, I would love to know, not in a great depth, but just a little bit your background. You were raised in the church. I know you served a
Yeah,
mission. Tell me a
yeah.
little bit about your background and the transition that happened and how you guys came through that.
I was lucky enough to be the baby, the third child of like the McLean family, and it was a multi-generational home. So it was like my dad's parents lived in the house with us, and we built this big house in Heber City, Utah. I was born when dad's career was kind of taking off. So he made Mr. Kruger's Christmas like when I was 1.
Oh,
So Jimmy
wow.
Stewart would like hold me as a baby. And I grew up on set for all like Heavenly Father's Plan and What Is Real, all of the movies that Dad made for the church. Kind of grew up under the glow of like, that's when Dad's career was the biggest, when he was like doing Celebrating the Light and albums. And I was raised in the studio, and I started singing with him when I was like 11 or 12. And so I got the opportunity to be kind of like, we went on the road together, and I sang for predominantly Mormons for my whole childhood and all the way till I was like 24 or 5. When I was 15, this big voice coach heard me sing. His name's Seth Riggs, and he wanted me to take voice lessons with him. And so we moved to Malibu, California, so I could take from Seth Riggs. And I did an album with Deseret Book when I was 16 called Father
Wow.
and Son. And then we toured that for a year before my mission. And then I went to North Carolina on my mission and came home and then did a couple more albums and did Time Out for Women and did a bunch of stuff with Dad. And so I was basically like, I would say the voice of the Mormon church, but I sang for the Mormons predominantly for a long
Hmm.
time. It was fascinating because I found that while singing, the spirit was always there, but I always felt unworthy because I felt that if they knew who I was, they wouldn't let me in the room.
Oh,
Yeah.
that hurts
So if
my
they
heart.
actually knew, so I was everyone's favorite, and I'd sing, and we're the special guest stars, and so we're like the local celebrities that would come to all of the state conferences, and I do like 40 weekends a year. We would go every weekend to go do a show somewhere, or a state conference, or some type of a youth conference or something, and then we do a Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday show weekend, and we performed several times, and it was just fascinating because like a part of me was not welcome. And so I had to just figure out how to lie to like keep that part hidden as much as possible
Hmm.
so that because I would be rejected if I had let anybody know.
Wow. Wow. So, what happened to help you let go of that or become who you truly felt like you were?
So I went to BYU.
Hmm.
So I got home from a mission. I went to BYU, and all anybody asked me all day, every day was if I was gay and who I was dating, and gay, 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 gay. Like everything at BYU felt was very much about sexual identity. It was college, so I was like 20, 21. So I came out when I was like 24, and once I realized that I couldn't marry a girl, I left BYU and kind of went on a different journey.
Hmm. Was that a conscious decision? Was that something that you came to over a long period of time? And how was that
Um,
accepted
well,
by
it can
by your family?
so okay. It's something that when I was, oh, how do I say this? I always knew that I was gay, but I had to hide the fact that I was gay from a very early age because I was unsafe. I think one of the main things that I think is fascinating is how early you learn how unsafe you are and how early you learn conditional love. I remember being 5 years old, and being like very, very unsafe because I had this little Cinderella dress that I loved, and I would wear it all the time. And then I just remember hearing murmurs through the walls, and what are we going to do about that kid in that dress, and what are we going to do about Jeff, and how are we going to help him like not wear it, and he needs to be this. And I think what's fascinating is that I got a lot of opportunities to be told what I was.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. The specifics of the Mormon culture in the Latter-day Saint culture is that they like to have all of the answers.
Yeah.
They like to know everything. They don't like any mystery. We don't want to know any mystery about what happens when we die. We want to know all of the answers to all of the things, and we want all the specifics. We
It's
want
so true.
addresses. We want addresses. We want the color of skin. We want to know where you live. We want to know who's next door. We want to know if you're married or not, and for eternity. And one thing that's interesting about when you have all of those answers, the more answers you have about the identity of God and about where you're going to end up, I find you have a lot more specifics about who and what you're supposed to be. The more specific the religion is, the more specifically you're told, you're this, you're that, you're, a boy, you are straight, this is who you're going to marry, this is where you're going to go. And so when you have your whole life planned out, I was basically just like told who I was supposed to be instead of being allowed to be who I was.
Hmm.
And if I wasn't who I was supposed to be, then love was withheld. And I learned as long as I show my mother exactly what she wants, then I receive love. And if I don't, then she rejects me and she pulls away. So as long as I do good, as long as I learned that God is very judgmental, very cruel and unchanging as a child. And I also learned this from like my grandpa and this upbringing. But ultimately, I learned at a very young age that I was unlovable and unworthy of love, and God couldn't love me.
Wow. What a
And I,
sad message for you to have received, you know?
yeah, well, oh my gosh, the worst. And I believed it for like 40 years.
Wow.
So when I'm talking about clinging to truths or clinging to the rock that I believed in is that God can't love me. I'm unlovable, and I have to figure out how to find love outside of myself because I had no idea how to generate it for myself.
Hmm.
And all the while, everybody was convinced that they loved me unconditionally. My mom was like, "Oh, I
Right.
love you unconditionally," but I learned conditional love from my upbringing.
Yeah. You know, I used to tell my kids, I love you no matter what you do. I used to tell my kids that all the time. And then I got tested. I got
Yeah.
big time tested. So my daughter, one day when I was saying that to her, and she was probably, I don't know, 12 or 13, she was very obnoxious. And she says, what if I move to New York and become a whore? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I will still love you. Well, a number of years down the road, a different daughter didn't move to New York, but yeah, that's the road she went down for a short time. And
Okay. Yeah.
oh, wow, was that tested? Do I
Yeah.
really love my child? Like, do I
Yeah.
unconditionally love that child? Because now she's doing the very worst thing that they could think of to say to me at the time, you know?
Yeah.
She's doing it. And do
Yeah.
I love this child? Talk about not taking away your learning opportunities. I really learned to love that child, but it was a process. I thought,
Yeah.
just like what you said, your parents thought they loved you unconditionally, but now they really have learned to. I'm sure they have, right?
Well, what's nice is I just think that we're all a gift to each other. And the way if the plan is as intense and as intrinsic as it is, and if we believe in that plan, the beauty of the plan is that there's so much joy and hope and forgiveness and atonement in it all. My mom needed me to learn and grow and learn how to love God more and learn how to love each other more and grow and progress on this earth. We're a gift to each other. Because my dad's one who's always has to be good. Like he does everything right, never did anything. Literally is someone who hasn't had a sip of alcohol, has lived a life that is pure as the driven snow. And it's very important to him that that's his value, is in his God can love him more because of his purity. And I got the opportunity to have never been good. Like never been able to be pure as the driven snow. And then found that in all of the drug dens and the darker side of the experience, that at no point ever in the existence of all of those places where I've traveled was I ever disconnected from the source or disconnected from God or disconnected from love, from myself.
Yeah, because God does truly love us unconditionally. So it makes
Yeah, no
complete sense.
buts.
He's not going to disconnect from you if you're not doing X, Y, and Z.
And now what's interesting is I've went through a lot of addiction, a lot of very dark places to prove I was unworthy of love. And I chased a lot of stuff like as long as I'm famous, as long as I'm a big deal, as long as I'm Warner and Legally Blonde on the first national tour of this thing. And I have all these albums and I'm singing for all these people. That makes me worthy. And I'm taking with Michael Jackson's voice teacher and I'm so cool and I live in Malibu and I have really famous friends and all of that, everything proved my value. Because as long as I had something other than that my parents could talk about me being gay, like, oh, Jeff, he's a star now and he's doing great things in New York and he's a big deal. I was very driven to be successful so that I could prove that I was worthy.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I could redo it all because I like, wouldn't it be cool to do like an album and actually like myself? Wouldn't it be cool to do a tour or do a show and actually like who I am while I'm doing it? Instead
Wow.
of having to have that thing be the thing that proves that I'm worthy to be there or my talent is the thing. I'd love to sing again, having my talent just be something I want to share as opposed to the thing that I had to use to get people to like me so that I could like myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd like to go back a little bit and get to the place where you have said to your parents, I'm assuming at some point you had to say to your parents, look, I'm not this person and I'm not going to live this lifestyle
Yes.
anymore. You right? You had to get to that place. I assume that the relationship probably had some struggles after that. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. How did you heal that? How did you and your family come back? Because you said right at the beginning, I have a fantastic relationship with my dad. And
Yeah.
nobody can believe that. How did that happen from being in a bad place with the relationship? How did that happen?
From the gay perspective, from the othered child perspective, when a parent tells you what you are and you show them that because that's what they want to see, it's actually not totally their fault when they're upset that you're not that person anymore. It's like, I'm showing up as this thing, and I'm going to show you this thing because this is the thing that I have to get love to show you. And the second I stop showing you that thing, it's okay for a parent to get upset by that. It's okay for a parent to mourn the loss of that. Because from a parent perspective, they've only known the one person that I've shown them. But the fact that I could only show them that one person or the person they wanted to see, when I reveal more, my mom was like, who are you? I don't recognize you. I don't know who you are anymore. And it's like, well, you never knew who I was and you never decided to show up and you never looked because you didn't want to. What we did is we just yelled and screamed at each other in a room. And she would yell and scream at me and come up to me with what is probably, oh man, the things that she'd say are like, so I came out at 24 and she cried every day for forever. And then, but I immediately left to go do musical theater. So I left and I never came home again. I left and kind of got kicked out. There was no more royalties. There was no more performing for Mormons. There was none. I was done.
Wow.
And then Dad was like, well, maybe we can do the Forgotten Carols and maybe you can begin it, but you're gay. And so what is the audience going to think? It became a thing because every guy who came out as gay before me was just completely cut off. The nice thing about being gay in the Mormon church is that you just get kicked out.
You're breaking my heart right now, actually.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that.
But what's great is it's so much easier than not being gay. It's like,
okay.
Like for my straight brother or other people, because when you're gay, you get kicked out and you actually go and join Gay Land, the Church of Gay. And there's an organization and there's millions of us and they're all over the place. And there's a full community that welcomes you. And it's great. There's a huge amount of people that are there to welcome you. And there's an organization and it's like set up and there's centers and we meet where you guys meet at church, we meet at bars and where you practice, we do recreational drugs, where you do, it's just where you practice sanctity. So I'm grateful to have been gay because it's so much easier when you leave to be collected into an organization that's similar to the one you grew up with. The structure of Mormonism is very similar to the structure of gay, where it's very like specific. Here's what you wear. Here's what you do. Here's where you talk.
Wow, yeah.
So the transition from Mormon to gay is actually quite easy. Discovering yourself is hard regardless. All the roads are difficult regardless, but the transition is I wouldn't be heartbroken for your children that are gay because there's a ton of people that there's a whole structure that's there waiting to welcome them and help them along.
That is good to know.
Like millions of people. Whereas like your straight children that leave the church, like where do they go? like where's their community? Like where's their other alternative church?
Yeah.
Where are their friends that are just built in? Where do they go hang out? So there's something really nice about it. And also when I came out, it was just you're done. You could just get kicked out. There's no like redemption for you.
Yeah. So your parents, I'm sure, were not okay with all of this. They went through their mourning process or their transitioning and their thinking process.
Yes.
There was lots of yelling and screaming, you said.
So basically how
did you get to that place?
So I got engaged to my very first boyfriend, so I got married in 2010. And I married the first guy that I fell in love with, which didn't go very well. We've since been divorced and I'm on my second marriage with Joe, which is amazing. So I got engaged to validate that I was gay and that we had to tell everybody about it. And so, like, my mom, we'd be driving in the car, and my ex-husband was in the back. And I did a show in Salt Lake, and someone came up and said, I'm happy for you as long as you're happy. And I was just in the car, I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, you're happy as long as I'm happy, blah. Like, what is that? Like, what if I'm not happy? Can you still be happy for me? And like, my mom would get beet red and would scream and yell and say, well, you're just lucky they care about you at all, seeing as how you're living in disgusting sin. And she would just like blow up. And she'd come to me and she'd say, so I had this revelation in the temple. You have no accountability. You're basically like somebody who has Down syndrome, or you're like somebody that's like a mental illness. You don't have accountability. God has to let you back in. And it's amazing. And she would come with this unbelievable, like, spiritual discovery, aha moments, and say unbelievably degrading things to me. Stay in the room and you say, thanks, Mom. I love that you would think that. And you just stay in the room.
Wow.
And you work it out. And then I said, Mom, you taught me unconditional love. And I wrote a whole letter about it, conditional love. And she read the letter and she said, yeah, I did that. I'm sorry.
So what I'm hearing you say is, instead of running away and just not communicating and not having any conversations and completely cutting off the relationship, instead you both stayed, all of you, because I know your dad was bit too at times, that you stayed in the room, you kept in the conversations, even though they were uncomfortable, even though you didn't agree with each other, even though it was hard, even though it might have been miserable. You all stayed in the room and kept trying. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
We've all just kept trying. We literally kept trying because they matter. Okay, I love them. And we're on this journey together. And we're very committed to it. Well, the thing is we're very committed to each other in a way that seems a little codependent and probably has been in the past. But I think the most important thing, ultimately the larger picture, is I basically told my parents to fuck off. Like, it was like, F you, we're done, I'm never talking to you again. Because it was after my wedding, my first wedding, and they kind of came and they were kind of talking to me through my sister. Here they've established families first. We love each other. And not only do you not have any choices, but my faith is going to make sure that you're with me for eternity. So it's like, the gospel plan is like, well, we're going to be together anyways. Why are you freaking out? If the gospel is such that my mother is going to drag me into the celestial kingdom, I'm like, well, if that's going to be the case, then why is everybody freaking out so much? like, why are you so stressed if that's what we're going to do? They were barely showing up, because here they showed up perfectly for me as long as I was not gay. And if I am gay, they don't even know how to love me. There's no clue. So I had to go on the journey of figuring out how to love myself. And what's fascinating is when you can figure out how to love yourself, RuPaul and everybody's actually quite true, you can actually make space to love other people. Amazing. And the more I learned how to love myself, the more I made space for them. But we went to a therapy session. And we sat in the therapist and they said, okay, so what's wrong? Because we didn't talk for I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but we didn't talk for 5 months. I called her and I said, we need to go to therapy. She says, yes, we do need to go to therapy. So we go to this therapy session. We sit down. We have all of these things, these dates planned. And we sit down and they're like, so what's wrong? I say, I've destroyed my parents' dreams. I'm personally responsible for destroying my mom's eternal family, her celestial glory, all of that. I've ruined her eternal family for forever. And Dad, I've ruined his career. I've ruined what we were supposed to do. I've destroyed their lives. Dad says, I've destroyed Jeff's life. I didn't know he was gay. It's the worst. I've destroyed his life. My mom, I've destroyed their life. So basically, we're sitting in this therapy session explaining how horrible we felt for destroying the other person's life. For just ruining everything for everybody, because we have so much power to destroy all things for everybody. And the therapist was like, Lynn, are you destroyed? And she's like, no, I'm actually quite not destroyed. I'm quite powerful and can handle kind of a lot of things. And then he went through all of us and was like, Jeff, how are you? Actually, well, I'm quite well. Things are going really well. Are you destroyed? Is anything ruined? And do we actually have the power to destroy other people's lives? And they're like, your parents are quite strong. They can actually handle quite a bit. And we sat in a therapy session and they said, Dad, did you ruin his life? And he's like, no, you didn't ruin my life, Jeff. I'm strong and I can handle this and I can make it on my own. You didn't ruin our lives. And a lot of it was just carrying the burden and the guilt of the other. And the ruining of things, and I've ruined everything. And when you already feel unlovable and that you're not worthy of love because, God can't love you because you're wrong, then you already feel like you're at a disadvantage. So what more could you do than if you already can't get there, then why try?
Yeah. The biggest thing that I'm getting from everything you're saying, and there's so many golden gems here.
Sense?
What's that?
Am I making any sense?
You're making a ton of sense.
Okay.
Yes, a ton of sense. And the biggest thing that I'm getting from all these golden nuggets that you're sharing, which are so valuable, is that you didn't give up. You didn't throw in the towel. You kept communicating. You kept trying, even though it was hard. And so did your parents. That the love was stronger than all the opposition and all the problems and all the disappointments and all the not being true to who you are and everything, all of that mess.
There was a lot of screaming. There's a lot of screaming. There was a lot of I just want everything to be blown up and there was a lot of rage and a lot of screaming and a lot of screaming. Screaming family, and we're a blow-uppy family. Maybe other people are not. But in the beginning, there was a lot of rage. And there was a lot of yelling, yeah.
And yet you didn't leave the conversation, or not permanently anyway. Maybe,
Well, you have to leave the room if you don't feel safe. Leave the room if it's actually unsafe. But it was like a 15, 20-year process.
Oh, yeah.
And in that 15, 20 years, I think the most important thing to share is where I did not learn unconditional love from my parents or from my church or from my God, I got the opportunity to, through a lot of struggle and a lot of dark places, have to get to the place where I was either going to learn how to love myself or I would die. It was one or the other. And so I started to begin the process of figuring out how to love myself by creating a God that was good and kind and unconditional. And so I got to create my own higher power, Heavenly Father energy. And after creating that, after healing that, I've been able to kind of build a sense of my own worth. And from there, I've been able to then share my worth and my love with my parents and stuff. And I think the main thing is, the thing about doing a bunch of really terrible things that are awful and important to God is that when you can learn how to forgive yourself and apply the atonement and really actually forgive yourself, really look at sit with yourself in those places and love on that person that was them and surrender that and apply the atonement to those things and really let them go. There's this unbelievable level of freedom that happens. And then you have so much space for other people to do that as well. And one thing that I find fascinating is I find that most Mormons are really bad at the atonement. They're literally the worst at it. They want to control this thing, and it's I screwed up and it's horrible. I'm well, yeah, but what if you could apply the atonement and forgive yourself and move on? And even just 3 weeks ago, I was with my mom and she was well, I should have known and I should have done better to raise you this way. And I was Mom, what if you could forgive yourself and let the atonement... Mom, the more you forgive yourself, the more you make space for me to love you. The more you set yourself free by applying the atonement to your own life. And literally go to those places where you were the worst parent that you have ever been in your entire life and you did it totally wrong. Sit with that version of yourself and let the healing powers of the atonement love on that person so that you can let that go. When we do that, we make it possible for ourselves to actually be available to love other people. And I learned that from AA rooms, from recovery, from finding a higher power, from drug addicts, from junkies, I learned unconditional love of God and how to like myself from the darkest people on the earth that would scare the shit out of you.
Mm-hmm.
From them, I learned how to maybe consider, because I believed a lie my whole life. I believed that I was truly unlovable and unworthy.
Yeah. I think this is so profound what you're sharing about forgiving yourself and applying the atonement.
I think it's impossible to actually love other people unconditionally, to be totally honest. I think the only job we have is to love ourselves unconditionally. Figure out how to apply unconditional love to oneself. And it's a very selfish thing. And your relationship with Heavenly Father and your relationship with yourself is, if you can figure out how to love yourself unconditionally by surrendering control, giving it to God, truly surrendering all of the dark, ugly parts of yourself, looking at all of them, sitting with them, all these versions of yourself that you wish were different, allowing Jesus, Heavenly Father, to love on those and apply that atonement. That is the only thing we actually have any control over. Because I don't think we can love other people unconditionally. I just don't think it's possible to truly do that without doing it to ourselves first.
I think you're absolutely right. What a beautiful truth.
Sorry
Jeff,
for
thank you. I feel like I've just learned so many beautiful things from you today. Will you take a minute and talk about the book that you and your dad have written together? I've heard it's taken like 5 years, is that right, to write this book together? 7 years to write this book together.
7.
I would love to know where the idea came from and then just a little bit about it so that my readers will want to go and get it and read it. I can't wait to read it myself.
I started writing it when I was 40. Oh, and I turned 40. I was actually 39 when the idea came. And what's fascinating is every McLean guy that has at 39 written a book.
Really?
My grandpa, my dad did the Forgotten Carols when he was 39. My brother wrote a play when he was 30. Literally, it's this funny thing where it's at 39 everybody writes a book, and everybody wants to know about how our relationship is, and so I decided I would write it with me and my dad and a therapist, because I wanted to give a healing tool to people to go through the trauma with me, but also get tools along the way instead of just be traumatized. And it took me a long time to figure out how to not just be angry. And so one thing that I found that I think is really beautiful is the one thing that they say actually works with trauma is repetition. I know that sometimes it might feel like it's this never-ending battle with your kids where it's just why are we going back to that? 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 And the repetition of reprogramming, I actually, in the process of writing this book, and if you had said this was possible before I started writing this book, I would have told you you were full of shit. That would never happen. But I actually healed. There was so much healing in the writing of it. And I wrote all of my trauma, and everyone held it with me. And I had a therapist hold it with me, and my editor, and my dad, and my mom, and my family. And while I'm writing, I'm scared to death, crying my eyes out, freaking out. As I continued to go through the process of writing, the trauma started to heal and change. And I remember there's stuff in the book that's really intense. So if you want a casual read, you do not want to read it. I reveal all the deepest, darkest secrets of the McLeans, everything that's was actually underneath the curtain. And it's rough, it's hard. We had completely different experiences to a similar thing that's really triggering and intense.
And yet your dad is completely supportive of this book.
Yeah. And I told him that I wanted to reference it. And so I said, hey, if this is too embarrassing and it's too painful, then we don't have to do it. I have grown so much from this experience. And what's weird is once the trauma's gone and that churny, angsty thing is gone and it's replaced with peace, it's insane. I think I walked around for 3 straight weeks being what's wrong? What is this feeling? Why am I not angry anymore? Why am I not just waiting, defensive constantly? And healing is actually possible. True healing and feeling safe in your body and feeling like love and atonement is actually real.
So incredible. Thank you for sharing that. So where can people get this book? I think you might have sent me some links that I'll put in the show
It's called
notes.
Stay in the Room, How a Gay Son and a Mormon Father Found Themselves in Each Other by Jeff McLean and Michael McLean with Brad M. Reedy, PhD.
Fantastic.
And it's on Amazon, it's on Simon & Schuster. So I have a bunch of the links there.
Fantastic. I will put all those links in the show notes so people can find it and just click on it and go right to it. Wonderful. I am super excited to read your book. Most of all, Jeff, thank you so much for being here with me today, for being willing to open up, share. I have really learned a lot by listening to you, and I'm hoping it will make me a better person going forward. I want to apply and change some thoughts that I've had and look at things in a different way. What you've shared with me has been very valuable, and I'm sure it has been for my listeners as well.
Oh, and can I just say, you're doing great.
Thank
Really.
you.
You're really doing great. And I think this desire to be better, and I see this in my dad a lot. He wants to be better so badly, like
Yeah.
so desperately. And
Yeah.
it's like this thing that he's constantly striving for and striving for and striving for and striving for. And there's a part of me that's like, sometimes I'm like, Dad, what if you could just like be? It's okay. Maybe you
Yeah.
don't need to be better. Maybe you just need to take a break. He wants to show he's improving so much. And I know that some of that's like for his own worthiness to feel like he's, but you're doing so beautifully. And thanks for being who you are. And thanks for creating a platform to create beautiful extensions for people. And thank you. You're truly a beautiful soul that's like, and thanks for like making the content and creating it. What a gift you are.
I appreciate that, Jeff. My heart just wants to help people heal their relationships the way I've been able to heal my relationships with my kids, the way that you've been able to heal your relationship with your parents. That's
Really
just what
beautiful.
I want to help people do. So thank you for helping me to do that.
You're welcome. It's great. I'm going to go see Mom on Wednesday. I can't wait.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And for my listeners, if you have found this podcast episode valuable, please share it with someone. And please join me again next time for another episode of Just Love Them.
I was lost and overwhelmed and ashamed of where I'd been, and I knew so many people thought I should be. I was trying to find a way I thought no one had ever been, till I turned and found you walking right beside me. You found the goodness I thought only I could see, 'cause there was something about you that was just like me. Broken healer, I am thankful that I found you at the right time, for you to see me like no one else could, and you let me be real, so I could heal. You're not standing on the mountain you were born on and never left. You're closer to me because you fell. I trust you when you guide me on the path of redemption, 'cause you walked it all the way back from hell. So many voices tried to tell me the truth, but I finally understood it when it came from you. Broken healer, I am thankful that I found you at the right time, for you to see me like no one else could, and you let me be real, so I could heal. All the fractures in your heart have opened it so wide, it's big enough to hold all my pain. You know the hurt that I hid and left unspoken because you're broken, you're broken too. Broken healer, I am thankful that I found you at the right time, for you to see me like no one else could, and you let me be real, so I could heal.